Uh, that was a great country, great experience. The biggest thing for me was the different economic standing of the country and how different the culture was. But it was great to see the differences compared to home.
I liked Costa Rica a lot. I thought it was a cool experience, something like I've never seen before. To get the chance to be in the rainforest and interact with animals and just all the nature was really cool. Something that you don't get to see every day and might not ever get to see again.
Very different, interesting country. I really appreciate the situation we have here, especially when we use the bathroom. It was kind of different out there, kind of made it annoying. But overall, it was a really nice to see a different country, especially on this side of the world for me, since I've been everywhere else but this place. But overall, pretty nice. Everything looks good. I love the forest. You know, even though it rained a lot, it was still a beautiful place to go out and see and look around.
I thought it was interesting. You know, it makes you appreciative of what you really have out there. Seeing what they have and don't have, and come home, we have everything that they want. You know, kind of opens your eyes a little bit.
My favorite part about the Costa Rica trip was we got to zip line, we got to hike up in the woods, the forest, got to see an awesome view, and then at the end, we got to go down a concrete water slide, like 500 meters. It was crazy. It was unsafe, but it was super fun, and we had a great time with the team. It was just a real good time.
I thought it was great for us to get a head start and get some playing experience under our belt. And it was a lot of fun. We bonded as a team and had a great time.
I thought Costa Rica was really cool. I really enjoyed the places we went, the people we talked to, everything from the environment, the monkeys during breakfast, our crazy tour guide, and then the people cheering on their national soccer team. I really thought that the entire country and the entire experience was really just amazing.
Costa Rica. Costa Rica was awesome. It was definitely different than what I've experienced before. Definitely the culture was new to me, but it was also really cool to see the differences. And definitely the monkeys were awesome.
Costa Rica.
I thought the trip was pretty fun. It was really, culturally enlightening, and we had a good time.
I thought Costa Rica was really cool. It was a different type of culture, and it was really fun to experience.
Costa Rica.
I thought Costa Rica was a cool country. You know, it was cool to experience something outside the United States. But I'm really happy to be back in the USA.
Costa Rica.
It was pretty fun. It was fun with all the guys, and I wish we could do it again in a couple years. Definitely not in the next year or two.
I thought it was a really cool experience. Not just going to play their national team or whatever, but just getting a feel for the country and a whole different culture. It was amazing.
Costa Rica. I thought it was a good experience. Definitely a lot different than where we live. And it made me realize, I shouldn't take the little things for granted in life.
I thought Costa Rica was really special because it gave our team the opportunity to go abroad with each other, and I thought it was a great way to mesh and get to know each other before we started the season.
Costa Rica, it was a great experience, meeting new people, trying new foods, being with the monkeys, all that good stuff. I'm glad I'm back in the U.S. and yeah, it was great.
Well, Andy, that's a good question. It was obviously a different place, but they had good food, nice people, and it was fun to learn about another culture. So I had a good time. It was a nice place.
I like Costa Rica, I like this country, and I like the people here. The people are nice, and even though they speak Spanish, but I can feel them, how they treat people well or something.
My favorite part about Costa Rica was just seeing the view, seeing all the trees. Especially with ziplining, it showed the whole city, so I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it.
I thought once it started raining, Costa Rica was a pretty good country.
The trip was great. The opportunity to share it with our players, our coaches, tremendous. So all in all, it was a great trip, and I think it's an experience that will help us not only in this season, but will be something that the guys will look back on for years to come.
I thought Costa Rica was an incredibly beautiful place with really friendly people. Would definitely recommend taking a trip there and would definitely go back again.
I thought the trip to Costa Rica was unbelievable. The sights,
the views, the culture. It was just an amazing experience, and I'm really excited that our guys got to do it. Not only just to see how other cultures, interact with one another, but just the chance for us to come together and really have a bonding experience was really good. It was just a great trip, all in all.
When I think about Costa Rica, the word that comes to mind the most is it was adventure. It was an unbelievable experience that we'll never forget. The opportunity to be in another country, another culture, where you just experience and see things that you would never see otherwise was truly a blessing. And I want to thank all of our parents, the boosters, everyone involved that helped us fund this trip. It was an experience that myself, our staff, and our guys will never forget. While we were there, we had the opportunity to go to the coast. While we were at the Pacific Ocean, a tropical storm formed in the Gulf that became a hurricane, and we got to see rain as hard as I've ever seen. But through that experience, our guys really had an adventure. We had fun. When the rains died down, we went out and explored the coast. We took a drive back through the mountains where almost all of the roads in the country had been shut down due to flooding and landslides. So we got to just really experience what the culture was like, seeing people help each other. We got to walk around in the small towns while the highways were shut down, and really got a taste of what life was like there. That was really neat. We got to play a couple games against the national team, which was a great experience. They were great hosts. And then we got to do a pretty cool ziplining experience. It was all together just a great adventure. I was very proud of our staff, the SCORE International staff, for the way that they took what could have been a challenging, negative situation and made it a positive. I think our guys had a wonderful experience, and our guys maintained a great attitude. Overall, I'm just so thankful that we had the opportunity to go. I think our team will be better for it, but most importantly, I think our young men will be more cultured and will help develop them as men. So that's bigger than basketball, to see them develop as young men. So thank you guys for the opportunity to go make that trip, and we'll look forward to seeing you this season.
The trip.
My favorite part of the trip had to be the zip lining and just the adrenaline rush and doing it and the great views. And second, I'd probably say the crocodile river that we saw. That was also very scary, but awesome.
I think one of the coolest experiences for me was getting to see all the people in the streets after their national soccer team won. That was a really cool experience that I don't think, kind of same thing as the rainforest, don't think I'll ever get to see anything like that ever again.
Oh, definitely the zip lining and everything. As a lot of people know, I'm really scared of heights, so after going with the instructor a few times, I decided to man up a little bit and just go down by myself. And that was pretty cool. And overall, that morning, it was fun to see everybody get around and get together and make a fool out of themselves and just get on with it and just enjoy each other's company when we're in a different country with nobody else around us. So really appreciated that day. So that was by far the best part.
My favorite part might be the monkeys. I love them freaking monkeys, man. They came stealing food if you turn your back. That was pretty funny.
Two things I will never forget from the Costa Rica trip. The first one was being on a bus for about 6 hours. The weather was pretty bad, the roads were closed, and we were on the bus forever. That was just a long day. The second thing was probably zip lining up in the mountains. That was probably my favorite part of the whole trip. So that I definitely won't forget those two.
My favorite part about the trip to Costa Rica is probably becoming closer as a team. All the guys, all the new guys that are coming in don't really know us as well as everybody else, and getting closer with them and building that team chemistry.
Trip would be definitely ziplining with our crazy tour guide, who warmed up our voices with the crazy chicken suit and had us ziplining upside down and traveling super fast on this super dangerous concrete slide. That was probably like my most favorite memory we had there.
Trip.
I probably wouldn't have said this at the beginning, but ziplining definitely was probably the coolest part. I'm definitely afraid of heights and didn't want to go ziplining. And with some peer pressure and forcing, I went, and I actually really enjoyed it. So I'm definitely glad I went.
My favorite part, it had to be that 6-hour bus ride. Man, you sitting there and hot and sweaty with a bunch of men, whew, I can't think of a better time.
All right, my favorite moment from Costa Rica was ziplining. It was something I've never done. It was really cool to see the city and be up that high and see everything from that point of view. And then something
my favorite part of Costa Rica was the hiking, the ziplining, the water slide. The water slide is one of the coolest things I've ever done. That was a really fun part of Costa Rica.
Going ziplining and hiking with everybody, that was fun. And the leader guy was pretty cool. Trip to Costa Rica.
My favorite part, I definitely have to say, was Fossil Land. It was just crazy, like ziplining. I've never done that before, and it was just a great experience.
That's a tough question. There was a lot of awesome things that took place on this trip. If I had to choose, I would probably say the ziplining was a really cool experience. You got to spend time with the teammates, fly around in the jungle. One time even went upside down. It was a really cool experience. That was definitely my favorite part.
My favorite part about Costa Rica was being in the mountains and getting to go ziplining. We saw some pretty incredible views, like the volcano and all the mountains, and it was just a cool experience.
I will never forget the 6-hour drive just to play one game. It was devastating, but it was a great team bond.
My favorite part had to be the ziplining. I've never been ziplining before. It was just crazy to be that high above the valley on the zipline. It was just really fun, and that was probably my favorite part.
My favorite part definitely ziplining. Ziplining, yeah, and it's pretty fun. Beautiful views, and the slide too.
Costa Rica was very interesting. The culture was definitely different from ours. We had Spanish food, Hispanic food, whatever you want to call it. It was very good.
My favorite part was definitely ziplining.
Dude, that's a great part.
And the concrete slide.
Oh yeah.
And
just thinking about our trip to Costa Rica and what I enjoyed, I think it was the way of life, the people. My favorite part were the people, the Ticos. They were warm, they were friendly, they were welcoming. They made us feel right at home. Enjoyed the people we met at the beach as well as the people in the city of San Jose.
My favorite part of the trip was on our first night at the beach. Coach Parrish, Coach Graves, and I went kind of exploring on the beach as the sun was setting, and came upon some giant rocks where the waves were crashing into and splashing up over our heads, and found a bunch of crabs in a cave that we kind of went exploring in. And just a neat adventure, and coming upon some things that we weren't expecting out there together was a great time, great experience.
My favorite part of the trip, God, there's so many. I'd have to say one was the zip lining. That was an unbelievable experience. I'd never done it before. And just to be up there in the mountains over San Jose and seeing that, going upside down on one, and then the slide was crazy, but a lot of fun. Also the trip, Coach Graves and Coach Richards and myself walking around the coast, exploring the coast our first day when we got there in the rain. The differences in one side being really smooth, and on the black sand side being really smooth, almost like a lake, and then the other side being, like a waves crashing, big time ocean over the rocks, and it was just an unbelievable experience that I'm glad we got to share as a staff together. It was many memorable moments, but those were two of my favorites.
My favorite part about our trip to Costa Rica was the coastline. It was just an unbelievable sight that I had never seen. On one side there was a black sand beach, on the other side a white sand beach kind of in the middle. There are these cliffs and volcanic mountains coming out of the ocean. It was just a great place to climb around and hike, and just something I've never seen before. So that was my favorite part, closely followed by Otto, our tour guide on the ziplining trip. He had the kind of energy that our Panthers only wish to have one day.
The thing what I won't forget is when me, Caden, and Juwan went on a jungle exhibition and made it to the top of a mountain, and with making through lots of grass-related injuries, made it to the top, and it was awesome. And we got wet a lot.
One big takeaway that I had was just getting to get closer with a lot of teammates that I didn't know that well, and even guys that have been here for a couple of years, just get closer to them, know them, and make long-lasting friendships.
Definitely the situation that the country had to deal with when all the rain came down, and the most important part to me was looking at guys when we were stuck in traffic, just random guys come out of their cars, get together, figure out a plan, what they're gonna do. Roads are closed, they pull out their phones, they check Waze and whatever, Google Maps, and all of a sudden we're just going with 6 random cars a different way because that's what the 6 drivers decided to do. So it just shows a lot about their culture, how they just live together, and they really appreciate each other's company all the time. So that was really nice to see.
Probably just being out in a different culture. Like I've always been one to say I didn't want to go anywhere, and because of my dad, leaving the country so many times, and I finally leave, and I see it's not so bad, I guess, if you know what you're doing.
All right, thank you.
Something I will never forget was the whole team bonding.
Something I'll never forget is hiking through the rainforest with my teammates and having a great time ziplining, playing in the national team and the arena. Great time, never forget.
One unforgettable moment I think was when we were in the pub or the sports bar grill area after our second game on Saturday. I was eating with Maddie, Juan, and Richard, our bus driver, and just like sitting, enjoying good food, hanging out with them, and talking to Richard about his life, but also just like watching everybody like get super excited and being involved in a huge soccer culture was really cool too. And just getting to hang out with friends, and the whole basketball team was a lot of fun.
The trip.
Definitely the rain. I know we went to a place where it rains a lot during the rainy season, but definitely being down there during like a tropical depression or storm, it was pretty incredible to see the amount of rain that was going on. But that's definitely something that will stick in my head for a while.
I guess something I always remember is ziplining through the mountains and hiking with everybody and watching Connell ruin his New Balances. That was pretty cool. I guess it was time for those to go though.
Something I'm gonna remember from the trip was definitely just hanging out with my teammates, having a good time, making jokes, and just having fun.
Costa Rica.
My favorite part of Costa Rica was the hiking, the zip line, the water slide. The water slide is one of the coolest things I've ever done. That was a really fun part of Costa Rica.
The traffic and the bus rides.
I'll definitely remember the night that we went and had dinner at the bar during the national Costa Rican game. It was just like a crazy vibe, and everybody in the bar that night was just like on the same page and just rooting for the same team so hard. And that's not something you really experience here with American soccer.
Well, Ben, if you asked me to remember one thing specifically from this trip, I would tell you that it would most definitely be the rain. Never once did I think that rain was, that big of a deal. But when it rains for 24 hours straight, not a single stop, you remember the rain. And that's exactly what I will remember from this trip.
I will never forget walking across the Crocodile Bridge because I never thought I would see crocodiles in real life, but I did, and it was crazy to see like how big they are in person and everything. So I'll really never forget that.
My favorite part was zip lining. I was afraid of heights, but then I conquered that, so I'm okay. Playing in the games was another favorite, one of my favorite parts, and yeah.
The part I'll never forget was a 6-hour bus ride from the coast to San Jose. And what really shocked me is when they said it was only supposed to be an hour and a half, but it was 6 hours. And that was one of the most drawn out bus rides I've ever had. That's something that I won't forget that.
I'll never forget the experience with my teammate and with all the great time in here.
I'll never forget, we was doing a human toboggan and Andy was yelling help the whole the whole ride. The whole time we was on the slide, he was yelling help. So, and he was behind me, so it was the funniest thing ever. So yeah, that would be one of my moments I'll never forget in Costa Rica.
And I'll never forget just hanging out with the team and making good memories.
Great memories.
Two things that were memorable that I'll never forget were we were there in some of the worst weather in decades, and roads were closed, and we had to take an hour-and-a-half trip and turn it into 6 hours going over the mountains. And we were on some very narrow roads that had just washed out, that they had just reopened, and it was crazy. It was beautiful. I think it was a great experience to see something that we otherwise wouldn't have seen. And then the other memorable piece was the soccer match. After we ate dinner and played on Saturday, we drove by the National Stadium. Honduras was playing Costa Rica, and we got there just as Costa Rica had locked up a bid for the World Cup. The people in the streets, the horns blowing, the flags, the sense of pride. I thought that was really, really interesting and amazing.
I will never forget the giant 500-meter concrete slide through the jungle, which required you dressing up in a trash bag going 50 miles an hour. I will never forget that. Also have to give a shout out to the monkeys that came out at breakfast at the hotel we were staying at in the beach that would literally snatch stuff off of people's plates while we were sitting there. We'll never forget that either.
There are several things that I'm going to remember most about this trip. One of those being just us getting, bonding as a team together. From us playing games to being on long bus rides. I thought that was just getting to know guys even better than we know them already, and I think our guys felt that same way too. Another one would be after on Saturday we played our game at 8. And we drove by the National Stadium as Costa Rica was qualifying for the World Cup with fireworks and people in the streets honking, and it was really cool to see how everybody came together. Everybody was excited for that one thing, which I thought was really, really cool. Which is something you don't see a whole lot in the States, but. Yeah, that was another memorable moment. It's probably something that, hopefully I'll see it again, but I doubt I'll ever see anything like that again.
I will never forget the zip lining excursion that we took. It started with a climb up a waterfall, which was pretty challenging, a lot of fun. And then the thing I was most proud of, and will probably never forget, is we had several guys who on the front end were a little bit scared of the heights. The zip lines go over a jungle that is in a mountain, oftentimes are several hundred feet off the ground, and those guys who were a little fearful going in had enough courage to go ahead and get on the zip line and go, and by the end they were the ones that were enjoying it the most. And so that was a great experience and a good team bonding, team building experience to go on that zip line excursion. This is Coach Graves and Sammy. We want you to keep up with the Panthers all season long on bschoops.com.